Good evening, Americans. This is your favorite alien in Bull Moose Bubba here on the evening of Thursday, September 24th, 2020. Sitting in for Paul Harvey this evening. Stand by for the rest of the story. Well, Americans, the African Americans have had a very bad year. 2020, besides COVID 19, has been bad for them. All this injustice that's going on, and their own people, NAACP, I mean, which is a faction. And this is what I'm saying, African Americans. Factions are political, and they're telling you to go one way, and other people want to go a different way. And they're bringing up all these names, and they're also including Rosa Parks in it. Now, Rosa Parks was a nice lady, but sitting in for Paul Harvey today, and I know Mr. Harvey upstairs would be glad that I did this story. So here we go. The other Rosa Parks. Back in 1955, everybody knows Rosa Parks got on the bus and refused to sit on the back of the bus in Montgomery, Alabama. But in July of 1854, 101 years earlier, in New York City, there was this young schoolteacher who had to get to church, and it was a very hot summer Sunday in 1854 in New York. And in 1854, New York was as segregated, or even worse segregated, than the South ever was under the Jim Crow laws. And this is before the Civil War. And you had prominent people that lived there, African Americans, like Frederick Douglass was a New York patron, but he had to abide by the rules. Now, this lady and her friend had to go to church, and at the time they had a streetcar that was pulled by a horse on rails. They called it a bus. And she got on it, and she forgot, and she saw the sign that says no African Americans or no coloreds allowed, because that was a word in those times, coloreds, or Negroes. They used them too in the 19th century. Uh, and she went anyway. The conductor told her to get off. She wouldn't get off. And he actually went up there and hustled it off. I mean, it must have been a 4-foot drop from there to the floor. And imagine this is cobblestones in 1854. So when she hit the ground, boy, that must have been, ah, boy. Well, she dusted herself up, got back on the bus, and the conductor looked back and he told the driver, okay, let's go. And then he looked back and guess who's on the bus? Yeah, and she was a determined lady. So he decided, okay, told the driver to stop when he saw a policeman. So when he saw a policeman, he stopped. The policeman told her to get off the bus. She didn't comply. The policeman went up there with a billy club, and eventually they pulled her off the bus and really damaged her pretty good. Well, she went and told her father, who was a prominent guy in the New York social circles of African Americans, and some whites, too, in the area, and Frederick Douglass. And they didn't want to have this. So they took the train route, or the bus line as they called it, to court, in the city of New York to court. In 1855, and this 21-year-old upstart attorney took the case, white. Now, mind you, at that time it was all white men on the jury. The judge was white, everybody was white. The attorney, for her, put on such a good case that she won. And she was awarded $250, which is the equivalent of $6,000 today. And she got the privilege of riding on the bus. And it created such an outcry in 1854 that for the time being, segregation was a little bit relaxed, but not totally forgotten in New York City up until the 1870s, where there was a riots, in 1868. Oh boy, they had riots in New York City that were terrible. But be that as it may, the lady in questions, which you African Americans forgot about her for 150 plus years. You put a lot of thing about it about Rosa Parks, and yes, she deserved it so. But this lady deserved it more because she was a school teacher and she held to her principles, just like Rosa Parks. But she went over there and fought the system. There was no riots for her or nothing. All by herself, she went over there and fought the system. The lady's name, Elizabeth Jennings, who married a man named Graham later on. She died in 1901. And the 21-year-old upstart attorney who won the case for her, Chester Alan Arthur, later became President Chester Alan Arthur in 1881. Now, you know the rest of the story. Sitting in for Paul Harvey this evening, this is your favorite alien and Boo Moose Baba. Good day.